Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's husband he needs therapy when he tried to guilt me into letting him walk me down the aisle? My mom married her husband James 3 years ago. I, 25 female, was not living with my mom at the time, nor will live in the same state, so I haven't really interacted with him a lot. I got engaged during lockdown last year. We are planning to get married when everything is safe again. I asked my mom if she would walk with me. She said yes. Everything was good. Then James approached me about 2 months ago saying he would like to walk me down the aisle. That he knows he can't replace my dad, but he loves me and my mom, and would love to feel the father of the bride role so I can have someone in it. I told him my mom was filling the parent of the bride role, and that made me happy. He pushed a little, told me it made more sense for him to do it. I said no. My mom told me he had just wanted to make the suggestion because he felt maybe I would prefer it. I didn't want to fight, so I left it alone. Then he came to me again. He talked about how he lost both his girls. His wife and daughters died almost 20 years ago, and how much it would mean for him to be accepted into that role and would give him the chance to do that with another daughter. He told me even if I don't want it, would I do that for him, so he would have some healing and a chance to be in the role with someone. I said no again, and he told me I must be very cold to know what it's like to lose a father, to do that to someone who lost both his children and is reaching out and offering to do it for you. I told him maybe he needs therapy if it's so hard, and he's so caught up in the loss of them that he can't see me as my own person, and as someone who would want my remaining parent to walk with me and fill that role. He was offended I would make that suggestion. My mom then bent over apologizing after she heard what happened. I guess she hadn't known the whole thing from before. He's still, I want to say salty, but he's still offended and thinks I overstepped. Did I? Am I the a-hole? And before anyone asks, my fiancé and I are paying for the wedding ourselves, and he is not contributing to anything. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He told me even if I don't want it, would I do that for him? Huh? You barely know the guy and he told you to disregard your own feelings on your own wedding day? Tell him to GTFO. What is he on? What kind of man has the audacity to ask a woman he barely knows to turn her wedding into his personal therapy session? Does he really believe that a 45-second walk with a stranger is going to cure him? Why is he asking her to give up what she has planned on an incredibly important day just to cater to his wants? He could have slapped her face and said, "You mean nothing. I'm the only person that matters in this world," and it would have the same effect. If only we had a word to perfectly describe this kind of person. Oh wait. Narcissist. Not only is the OP not an a-hole, but she actually made an astute observation that her stepfather is indeed in need of therapy to unpack and process some of his feelings of grief and loss that he has obviously not dealt with sufficiently. Okay, y'all are starting to get a little carried away with the insults. Obviously, OP is not a-hole, but that's because she's 100% correct. What kind of man has the audacity to ask a woman he barely knows to turn her wedding into his personal therapy session? The kind in desperate need of therapy. No, OP's wedding is not a place, obviously. But God knows there are few kinds of trauma more damaging than loss of a child. And I say this as the child of 2 dead parents. 1 cancer, 1 self-deletion. Both before I graduated college. I've gone to therapy, and I'm still hurt. But man, the thought of losing 1 child, let alone 2, rocks me to my core. Trauma like that puts you in a headspace that makes clear lucid thought a cruel joke. He can only see himself there because he is deeply, deeply traumatized from all the hours, days, years spent sleeplessly imagining all the moments he could have shared with his kids. Cut him some slack before he gets too mean with the name calling. He really does need therapy though. Not a-hole. My dearest cousin JK lost both her parents when she was in her early 20s. When we heard the news that she was getting married, my parents RM and V had a long discussion with each other and decided they would be graciously willing to play the roles normally reserved for parents, hosting the rehearsal dinner, giving speeches, walking the bride down the aisle. So they called JK, and she was simply speechless. Finally, after regaining her composure, she gently told them they weren't even invited to the wedding. Not the a-hole. If you guys were really close or he's married to your mom for let's say 10+ years, cool. But he overstepped here, and instead of backing down, he starts to guilt trip you? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my stepdad left me with nothing? My dad passed away when I was 10. I was very close to him, a real daddy's girl. When he passed away, I was devastated. 3 years after his death, my mom remarried my stepdad. While my stepdad was nice to me and my younger siblings, I did not see him as a father. I saw him as my mom's husband. When I was 17, he asked to adopt me, and I declined. I did not want him to replace my real father, but my younger sisters had no such problem. Because of that decision, I've always felt like he has tried to subtly punish me for not agreeing to the adoption. He has excluded me from many things. When my younger sisters graduated high school, he did a father-daughter trip with them to celebrate, and he didn't do so for me. When they graduated college, he attended their graduations. He did not attend mine as he was feeling unwell, although he never specified what he came down with. He posted multiple times on social media about how proud he was about their achievements, but he has never done so for me. When I got married, I chose to walk down the aisle alone. My stepdad didn't say anything, but I know he was upset as he privately complained to my mom, and she tried to get me to change my mind. After my wedding, he was completely silent on social media. He congratulated me and my husband one time, and then just seemed to forget about it. When my 2 younger sisters got married, he was full of pride and happiness and posted so many pictures, selfies, and long paragraphs about how beautiful the ceremonies were, how wonderful my sisters looked, etc. I always thought that I was overthinking and that these actions could be explained away. At the beginning of 2020, my stepdad was diagnosed with an aggressive terminal illness and he passed away last month. During his last days, he did not want to see me, but he did want my sisters and my mom by his side. I was the only one singled out. I respected his wishes, but it hurt so much. When he passed away, he left handwritten letters for my sisters and nothing for me. My younger sister, who was his favorite, got over 20 handwritten letters from him and a special engraved necklace from him. I didn't even get one letter. I feel so hurt. Am I the a-hole for feeling this way? I tried to talk to my husband about this, and he says I'm making my stepdad's death all about myself. I want to talk to my sisters about this, but my husband says it is selfish to do so as they are all grieving. I feel so deeply hurt. Sorry, but you're the a-hole. You kind of excluded yourself. Your siblings were happy to have him as their father. You declined. When my younger sisters graduated high school, he did a father-daughter trip with them to celebrate. Because they had a father-daughter relationship. I did not see him as a father. Your siblings did, so they got him as a father. You got him as my mother's husband, which is how you chose to get him. You excluded him from the father role at your wedding. It doesn't seem like your siblings did, so they got the happy father experience. Again, something you declined. Chose your own path. I mean, he literally asked Opie if he could be her father via adoption, and Opie said no. He wasn't subtly punishing Opie for saying no. He was accepting what she told him about their relationship. She kept reinforcing that lesson, and now she's surprised he didn't think of her as a daughter in spite of her literally telling him not to think of her as a daughter? Yeah, you're the a-hole. I don't understand this position. He asked his stepdaughters while they were children if he could adopt them. Then, he tangibly rewarded the stepdaughters that agreed, and iced out the one that didn't. He was the fully formed adult. He should have treated them all the same relationship with all stepdaughters, adoption or not. Sure, he might be closer to the others, but that is a different issue. Also, sounds like the Opie's mother went along with it. Mom may be the a-hole. We see the opposite on the sub all the time. An Opie vents on the sub about how their step-parent won't respect their boundaries and keeps pushing for a parent-child relationship. This step-parent took Opie at her word and backed off. Opie said did not see him as her dad. Her sisters did. Why would he keep trying to do father-daughter things with a 17-year-old who told him that he is not her dad? You're the a-hole. He asked if he could adopt you, which is him taking you under his wing as a real daughter. You declined, so why should he care for you as if you were his daughter? It's not his duty to take care of you or even care for you if you refused his offer of parentage. You deserve nothing, and you got nothing. Move on. Would I be the a-hole if I say I don't want a father-daughter dance with my stepdad? I'll try and keep this brief because I see similar posts have been posted lately. I'm 24 female, I'm getting married. I asked my mom and stepdad to walk me down the aisle. I said I didn't want a father-daughter dance with him, but offered a spotlight dance for the two of them. They were not happy with that. He asked me if I would ideally like one with my mom, and I was honest that, yeah, I would. But I was trying to be sensitive to everyone's one, so compromising. He went away hurt. My mom told me I should reconsider. She told me it was rude. They went back to me about 2 weeks after the initial discussion and said a spotlight dance for them did not make up for the snub of no father-daughter dance. And especially when it's not that I don't want a parent-bride dance, but I don't want one with him. They told me we needed to discuss it more, so we did. Which I kind of regret now because it was a rehash of the same stuff over and over again. The other night, my mom called and said I need to give this more thought and reconsider doing it. She said that I could have one with each of them, and that would make everyone happy instead of them having a spotlight dance. She said he has raised me since I was 8 and has been a good father figure to me, and has supported and loved me most of my life. All of this is true, but, and I know this will likely be what sways some people, he was always second best to me in terms of my longing and grief for my dad who died 8 months before he and my mom got married. He could just never take that role. I'm not sure anyone could, because my dad was amazing. He loved and supported me, encouraged me to follow my dreams, thought of me right up until the very end. He left letters and videos for me to mark every milestone he would miss as well as other things. I have so much love and some great memories of my dad, and I just never found that kind of love for my stepdad. It's not that I don't appreciate him being there for us, and I know he tried, but I never felt even half of what he feels for me. It's part of the reason I never let him pay for college, though he offered. Because I didn't want to feel like I was taking advantage of someone's love for me when that love is not reciprocated. So now I don't know. I could say I have changed my mind, but in truth, I don't want to dance with him. If I had my wish, it would be for my mom, and just my mom to walk me down the aisle. But she would never consider that. Would I be the a-hole if I say I don't want a father-daughter dance with him as my final thoughts on the matter? Now for the comments. No a-holes here. You feel how you feel, but I can also understand why you would be hurt. Yeah, I get it. Not the a-hole. You've already compromised your wedding by having them both walk you down the aisle, which most people view as the most important parent-bride part. While the dance is lovely, I don't think it's as maybe important. Like, if it was missing from a wedding, it would not be as noticed, while a bride not being walked down the aisle would be more noticeable. I don't think you need to compromise further, and I have moved this judgment into the a-hole territory, because despite already getting to both walk you down the aisle, they are requesting more from you on your wedding. No a-holes here. You can't help the way you feel, and if you tried explaining how you feel and why you feel that way, he should try his best to accept it, even if it may be hurtful. I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe at this point next the parent dances all together so no one person is jealous or hurts over another. It is your day, and you can do whatever you want. A biological parent figure is something no step-parent can fully replace, even if they are loving and the best step-parent ever. The dance with my mom isn't happening anyway. I knew it would be off the table, so I just suggested they do one together. It only came up because he asked me directly. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my 3 sisters out of my wedding after they came with their kids? My wife and I got married 2 weeks ago. We wanted a child-free wedding, so we've let everyone know. My family /in-law /friends and relatives, and everyone was okay with it. Except for my family. I have 3 sisters all with kids from 2 to 10. My mom said it was illogical to not allow kids since 1, this never happened in the family, and 2, my sisters live towns away so the kids can't be left alone. After a lot of arguing and others getting involved, I stood my ground and they agreed to not bring kids. At the wedding, no one brought kids. My parents and aunts were already there, but then I saw my 2 sisters arriving with their kids. I immediately went to ask what's the deal. They began arguing with me when I said I won't be letting them in with the kids. Then I saw my older sister came with her kids in the car. I was pissed. I asked why they decided to go against the rule and bring kids. My mom started yelling at me when I told my sisters they weren't allowed in with the kids. Everyone was yelling at me. I had to get the security involved to make them leave. My parents and aunt left shortly after. They were so pissed at me, and I got nasty texts later, and my cousin posted about my crappy wedding on Facebook. Days later, I've gathered a family and explained what they did was wrong. I asked if I allowed my sisters with their kids, what message that sent to my in-laws and friends who wanted to bring kids, but they couldn't. My sisters argued with me, and it turned out my mom told them to bring their kids and should deal with me later. I told them they could have arranged for a babysitter, but my mom said they wanted to celebrate as a whole family. Said that I ruined my own wedding by making a scene, and everyone will always remember my wedding as a disaster. A crap show because of mine and my wife's child-free bull. They said the only way to fix it is to have another wedding/party and include everyone, especially kids. I called them unreasonable. I asked Mom where the hell she got the nerve to even demand that. They blamed my wife and claimed it was deliberate. I left. They started talking to my wife, trying to convince her that they don't approve of what happened and that they're giving us the chance to fix the situation. Otherwise, their relationship is damaged. This caused me a headache, and I don't think what I did was wrong. I just want them to have some respect for my wife and her family. Not today, Hole. Your wedding. You set the rules and a guest list. Kids weren't on it. They broke the rules intentionally and they suffered the consequences. Stand your ground. Exactly. Do not throw that second party, because it only sent a message that you were wrong and they were right, and you shouldn't have held a child-free wedding. Don't argue about it anymore. Just do the broken record thing. Keep repeating you knew the rules and guest list. You intentionally broke your word when you said you weren't going to bring the kids. It's not my fault you face the consequences of your own actions. Just keep repeating that over and over again, no matter what they say. Not today, Hall, but do throw a second party. At the second party, don't invite mother or sisters. If you want to, invite their kids, with the condition they, mom and sisters, are still not invited. Not today, Hall, and your family's massively crappy. I'm betting this isn't the first time they've tried to bully you to get their way. Tell them to pound sand. Exactly. The fact that they agreed to the no kids rule but did it anyways just screams they think they are better than everyone else and above the rules. Not today, Hall. You asked them beforehand to not bring kids and they did anyway. Also, kids count as regular guests for weddings, and it's not cool to bring people that's not invited, especially when you have to pay per person for food, chairs, etc. Right. That in itself is an issue that I didn't have the chance to explain to them. Update. Am I the a-hole for prioritizing my nephew and niece over my own children after they hid their mom's affair from me for years? Original post. I, 57 male, was married to my wife for almost 25 years, and we divorced 4 years ago after I found out about her infidelity. She had an affair partner for almost 5 years. She is now with her affair partner. The whole process hurt me a lot because everything I did in life, I did it for my wife and kids. And to now find that about my wife, it just hurt me. My 2 children, 29 female and 26 male, had known about the affair for years, and they had hidden it from me. They both felt very guilty about it, and I don't blame them because they didn't want to break up their family. My daughter even cried a lot and apologized a lot of times. But I told her it was all right. They had their own life now, and I didn't want this eating them up, so I told them to let go of the guilt. However, ever since I found that they had hidden the affair from me, I lost a lot of love for them. I wasn't going to cut them out of my inheritance or will or anything like that, but emotionally, I couldn't connect with them at all. I also have a niece, 30 female, and nephew, 28 male, who I have been very close with, especially since their father passed away at a really young age. I played a father-like role during their young years because losing her husband at such a young age was very tough for my sister. Over the last 4 years, I have also been looking forward to spend more time with them. Both my niece and nephew have children, and they have invited me over for their children's birthdays. They have also invited me over for their own birthdays, on Father's Day, on holidays. Overall, we are a very tight-knit, multi-generational family, and I am very proud to be a grandpa to their children, and we are already developing a bond. However, in doing so, I have also lost all interest in connecting with my own children. My daughter has 2 children, while my son has his first child on the way. They have invited me over multiple times, but I have told them I'm busy. I rarely go over, if at all, and I've missed almost all of their children's special occasions. I'm not really interested in being a grandpa to their children. Monetarily, sure, I have been sending them gifts, but I just don't feel like seeing them at all. My daughter especially seems very hurt by it at times, but I hope she understands the reason for this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole for prioritizing your niece and nephew, but you do need to be honest with your children and tell them that they lost your trust when they didn't tell you about their mother's affair. Telling them not to feel guilty about it was obviously a kindness from you to make them feel better, but you should have also told them that even though you don't want them to suffer from guilt, you also don't trust them. It's more than that though. They caused irreparable damage to their relationship, and he has forgiven, but he can't forget and pretend they're cool. If it tells them he has lost trust, they may try to work on it and increase their contact. If he explains that he understands why they did what they did, and that he forgives them but he is not able to forget, maybe they will see this as a direct consequence of their actions. The shame is, it isn't OP's grandkids' fault, and now his ex-wife has taken away his marriage, kids, and grandkids from him, which is so sad. This is how damaging affairs can be. You're not destroying your life or your relationship with your spouse. You hurt everyone in the nuclear family and splash damage beyond. OP, this was all your wife's doing. She's the one who cheated. She's the one who put your children in a position to hide what they discovered in the first place. She's the one who continued with her affair partner instead of stopping right then and there. They knew it was wrong of their mother, but talk about being between a rock and a hard spot. Do we tell Dad and break his heart? Break up his marriage to our mother, who will be devastated too? Uproot our whole lives because we told? Are we now to blame because we didn't want to ruin a whole marriage and family dynamic? Or do we hope to God this all goes away and this family can back to normal? Your children are your responsibility to protect, not the other way around. Your wife forced that upon them. Doing so ruined your relationship with her and with them. You would do yourself a great service to go to counseling. It's just too much to bear alone. Good luck, OP. I truly hope you think about and repair your relationship. They're just as much a victim as you are. Now for the update. Thank you all for the advice. The one thing I got most from the comments was that my children deserve to know the truth and to not be left in a limbo like it was for years. And that's what I just did. I just got off a video call from my daughter and my son. The call was pretty rough and extremely emotional, but I got everything off my chest. I told them that while I had forgiven them, I could never forget it, and that for my mental health, it was better to limit our interactions. I told them to not feel guilty about anything, but that also after dedicating more than half my life to my wife and children, it was time to put myself first. I told them my heart wasn't in it to be a grandparent to their children. I was also honest with them and told them my heart was only in it for my nephews and nieces' kids, and whenever I did go to their house, I felt joy. While with my own children, I felt nothing. My children probably already knew it, but I wanted them to hear it from me directly. It was really hard to get it off my chest and say it directly to my children's faces. I told them they were still welcome to come to my house anytime and call me anytime they needed help. Both my children took the call really hard, but I think my daughter took it worst. Really ugly tears. And I felt really bad about it. But I do feel a sense of relief. And I have pretty much told all of my feelings to my children and did not keep anything secret. I can now move forward with my life, and so can my children. But wait, did they just accept it or begged for a chance? Also, did your kids' relationship with their mother suffered? They didn't beg, but they did apologize a lot, and also cried, and they asked me to reconsider. I told them I would, but for now I would rather we limit the interactions. Yes, their relationship with their mother has also suffered a lot. Man, so many of these comments presenting a false binary. His kids fooled around and found out. OP is a POS who never loved his kids. Jesus! The kids were put into an impossible situation, but they also made a wrong choice. Opie isn't wrong for feeling how he feels, but he should be addressing his feelings, instead of simply displacing his love into a surrogate family. Everyone is a victim here and everyone is broken, except this selfish witch who actually is at fault. Yep, this is essentially it. How working on his feelings will be unique to him and only he can judge if it's appropriate though. Everyone is a victim here and everyone is broken, except the selfish bee who actually is at fault. Funnily enough, I've seen comments from people defending her saying that she's suffering too, etc. Sad situation all around. Horrible, really. There is no legitimate way to judge this one. I just know from personal experience, Opie and his children will all come to hate and regret this entire mess someday, when it's too late and he is dead most likely. Sometimes you just don't get closure. Sometimes there is no resolution, no forgiveness, no redemption. Just an ending. My mother was wonderful the first half of my childhood, had a mental breakdown, and became monstrously abusive from the ages of 13 to 20. Left me with so many mental issues, and no tools to cope with them or language to identify them. Just after the birth of my first child, I invited my whole family to travel up and see the baby. She and I hadn't spoken in months and hadn't seen each other in years. On the second day of the visit, she dropped stone dead to the floor from a massive heart attack. I was 26. Life really isn't fair. In my opinion, the measure of a person is really how they react to adversity, and then how they react to that reaction. I didn't get closure, and I behaved really poorly that year and the next 3 years after. My grief was toxic, and I poisoned everything I touched with it. Damn near ruined my life. Damn near ended it. But at some point, I stopped reacting and took stock. I started getting my life back on track. Those ugly years motivated me to be better and to get help, and most importantly, to allow myself to actually think about every thought and memory I was hiding from. 12 years later, and I still don't have closure. I know and accept that I never will. What I have found instead is a kind of peace on the subject of mom. I've examined my whole life with her from every possible angle dozens of times over, to the point of exhaustion. And now it just is. I've lived nearly as long without her as I did with her. She's just dead now, and that means what it means. Not sure I actually need that closure anymore. It wouldn't change the past, nor give me anything I can't give myself. I have allowed myself to be at peace. It still aches to think of what I lost and what could have been, but I honestly don't think about it much at all. Too busy living to be focused on the dead. While my story isn't nearly as tragic and traumatizing, I've recently come to understand what it's like to go through a traumatic event without the possibility of closure. I'm 50 years old, and I've had my fair share of loss and heartbreak, but nothing like this. I feel like a boat whose sails were ripped off, and its compass broken during a storm, and now I'm cast adrift on an endless, windless sea. I do hope it gets better with time, but I'm not counting on it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my ex-wife's sister's college? I, 30 male, was married to my ex-wife Claire, 28 female, for 4 years, until I found out she had been cheating on me with an ex-boyfriend. Needless to say, the marriage ended, and we got divorced about 8 months ago. During the divorce proceedings, I learned that Claire's younger sister, Cindy, 20 female, had known about the affair, but chose to keep quiet about it and helped Claire hide the affair from me and her family. Before all of this, I had promised to pay for Cindy's medical school costs, as myself and my family are wealthy. And despite the divorce, I had decided I was going to pay for education, as at the time I felt I didn't need to punish Cindy for what her sister did. However, as I said before, it was during the divorce proceedings that I found out about what Cindy did. And once I found out that Cindy was complicit in hiding Claire's infidelity, I felt betrayed and decided to revoke my offer. I told Cindy 8 months back that she should look for a loan or for other funding, and I wouldn't fund her anymore. I'd already paid for 1 semester. Recently, when I received an email from the college regarding the upcoming semester fees, I responded by informing them that they should direct any further inquiries to Cindy, as I would no longer be funding her education. Cindy called me screaming and crying and accusing me of being cruel and heartless for cutting her off. She says that her family couldn't afford the tuition without my support and that she would have to take out a loan. I told her she is not my concern anymore, and I blocked her. When her father contacted me, he was calmer, asking if there was any possibility of reversing my decision. I stood firm and said that I had no intention of continuing to support Cindy financially. He says he understands and will try to make Cindy understand too. For context, he was very good to me during my marriage and offered me support when I told him I was going to divorce Claire. This decision has caused a rift among friends and family. While most of them support my decision, some have criticized me for not honoring my previous promise to Cindy. Even my own mother is urging me to reconsider, citing my past promise and the fact that paying for Cindy's education wouldn't be a financial issue for me. However, my father stands by me, agreeing with my decision. Truthfully, I have the means to pay for Cindy's entire medical school education without difficulty, but I can't shake the feeling of betrayal caused by Claire's cheating and Cindy's complicity. But I feel conflicted. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Cindy is upset because she got caught hiding her sister's secret, and now she's paying the price of betrayal. You were helping her out of kindness, yet she could not repay that to you. Not the a-hole. Yep. Decisions have consequences, and this is hers. Hopefully, this will teach her that lying and betraying people isn't something she should ever do again. She has no chance in medical school anyway. She called her sister's ex-husband screaming and demanding he pay her tuition. She's not even remotely mature enough to succeed in medical school. Absolute freaking clown and entitled AF. I hope she has to drop out. She sounds dumb AF and has no moral compass. I don't care if OP is a bazillionaire. He shouldn't give his cheater-enabling, immoral, stupid AF sister-in-law a single penny. While most of them support my decision, some have criticized me for not honoring my previous promise to Cindy. Your friends can pay for Cindy if they feel so strongly about her education. What Cindy did was not the act of a friend. She helped destroy your marriage and supported your ex-wife's infidelity. She chose her side and turned her back on you, so you can oblige her by withdrawing your promise to pay. She should ask her cheating sister to pay for the education, not the a-hole. Maybe the ex-boyfriend can pay, as apparently he was more important to Cindy than the OP. The promise was based on having a good relationship with them. They both betrayed you. Cindy probably under pressure of her sister, but that is ultimately irrelevant, not the a-hole. And tell your annoying mother to mind her own business. Last story. I, 26 female, was manipulated into having an affair with my sister's 24 female boyfriend. How much space should I give my sister? 4 years ago, my sister Lisa started dating this guy we will call Rob. When I met Rob, we both hit it off immediately and became friends. About 9 months into their relationship, we realized we had mutual feelings, and Rob manipulated me into thinking we were soulmates. I didn't want to hurt my sister, but Rob said we would do this in a way that hurts my sister the least. We were going to have to tell her, but be very delicate about the situation. Throughout the course of our relationship, he made every excuse possible not to tell her. This goes by for the next 3 years, and then I found out they planned on moving in together. At that point, I realized he was a liar and manipulator. I broke things off with him, and I didn't want my sister to be with someone like that, so I told her everything. Texted her all the proof. I texted her everything that happened. She didn't reply, and I was blocked and everything, and she apparently broke up with Rob and blocked him and everything as well. I want my sister to understand we were both victims, but not sure how much time to give her before I try reaching out again. I am not sure I would call you a victim. It sounds like you were perfectly aware you were doing something wrong because your feelings were a topic of discussion between you two. I think she realized that he was going to marry her sister and she wanted to force him to choose her. That's the only reason she told her sister. I have no doubt that she's gonna try to get with him still, and it'll be easier with her sister out of the way. It was, but I honestly can't help that I was in love with him. He manipulated me into thinking he felt the same way. If I knew I was a side piece, I wouldn't have done it. So if it felt the same way, it was okay that you were banging your sister's boyfriend behind her back? Is it just the fact that he doesn't really care about you that makes it wrong? You are not any type of victim. You are selfish and prioritized your wants and feelings above being honest and not hurting your sister. BS. You know you were a side piece. You knew he was in a relationship. You are not and has never been a victim in this situation. It doesn't matter what he told you. No one buys that you are that stupid as you try to portray yourself, because no one is that stupid. And you have been banging your sister's boyfriend for 3 years. Not even just once, which would already be bad enough, and one time too many. You were an adult, and you knew what you were doing to your sister. You just never cared about her. Your sister is the only victim. She got betrayed by not just a man, but by her own sister too. You have no morals. You should be ashamed of yourself. Please leave your sister alone for good. Don't try to talk to her or contact her unless she wants to talk to you, if she reaches out. She probably never will, at least not if she knows what's best for her. She's better off without the likes of you in her life. Who needs enemy when they have a sister like you? If you were my sister or any other female/male family member of mine who did this to me, then you better hope to never get into my sight again, or there's a good chance you would end up without hair and with clawed out eyes. You would be as good as dead to me. Getting cheated on sucks, but what's even worse is being betrayed by your own family. Because romantic interests come and go, but you should always be able to rely on your family, trust your family, and know they have your back. If it's not true to some family members, then those don't worth being kept around in a person's life. Update. Am I the a-hole for not helping my daughter? Original post. My daughter, 22 female, went no contact with me 2 years ago. Before this happened, I was warning her about this guy she was dating who was full of red flags. He bombed her and isolated her from her family and friends. She dropped out of college despite my pleas to reconsider. She decided to move in with him, and since then, I never heard from her directly, but she would often ask my family members to ask me for money. The last thing I heard about her is that she has a 1-year-old child and her life is basically falling apart. The love of her life turned out to be a monster, and she is working 2 jobs to keep her family afloat. The friends she abandoned are now done with college and starting new careers in corporate, while she works at a dollar store and does Uber. A family member showed me a screenshot of my daughter's Facebook post, basically calling me an a-hole for not stepping up and helping her. She also ranted about me not supporting her to finish college, unlike her friends' parents. I don't have much extra money and I am saving for retirement. She dropped out when I begged her not to. Plus, she also blocked my number. She knows where I live but has never attempted to drop by. Am I the a-hole for not reaching out and offering help? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Well, she got what she wanted. She lives with her beloved and she's the one who broke off the contact. She didn't give a damn about you. She pays for stupidity, not the a-hole. Yeah, she did not give a damn about me. She only lives 10 minutes away, but never ever drops by to say hi, yet expects me to touch my life savings to help her out. I am thinking I could run out of money helping her, and when I need help, she won't be there at all. Your daughter hasn't learned a damn thing and isn't worth your money. The fact that she didn't try to talk to you and admit her screw-ups, but instead lied about you on Facebook to make herself look like an innocent victim is proof of that, not the a-hole. This is why I am so conflicted whether to help her or not. I feel like I should help, but it won't do her any good at all. She would probably expect me to help all the time till my savings run out. Your daughter is a narcissist and is trying to manipulate others into helping her because her parent is an a-hole for not stepping up and helping her, while she never even attempted to make contact. Not the a-hole. It's sad, but it happens far too often. It's also sad that nowadays it is so easy for people to go no contact, but still expects you to reach out and help no matter what. Now for the update. Thanks everyone for your input. I sent a message to my daughter via a family member on Facebook and my son, and they both came to my house last night for dinner. I told them it was an open forum where we could air our grievances against each other, and from there, we would sort it out. Daughter hates me for not trying hard enough to reach out to her when she moved in with her boyfriend.
She also hates that I never tried to accept her boyfriend. My reason is that she decided to drop out and be an adult. I felt disrespected by the hurtful things she said, and by blocking me, I got the message she did not want me around. I can never accept her boyfriend. He cheated on her many times and does not work. I am disgusted. Son hates me for not giving him the extra money I had saved for the rest of my daughter's college. He also said that if I didn't want to give it to him, I could have given it to her when she got pregnant. The reason is that I paid for his college too. Since my daughter did not finish, whatever extra money I had saved for her tuition, I moved it to my retirement savings. Why would I give it to him when I already paid for his education too? He graduated with 0 student loans. Also, why would I give it to her just because she got pregnant? Being an adult means you are responsible for your decisions. Me? I am disappointed that my daughter dropped out, moved in with her boyfriend, got pregnant, and is now living a hard life. I told her I worked my butt off to give her a good life, and that she was my little princess. I never wanted her to experience hardship in life, but she chose this life, and this is her reality now. I'm disappointed at my son for cutting me off and disrespecting me when I try to reach out. All in all, we were civil, but they suggested that I get a reverse mortgage so they can get their inheritance early, and that would help them buy their own houses. I said I would think about it. Yes, the classic, let's air grievances so we can hit you with new ways to disappoint us strategy. You're not the a-hole for standing your ground, but let's not sugarcoat it. Your kids are treating you like an ATM with a guilt trip feature. Your daughter expects you to welcome her chronically unfaithful, unemployed boyfriend with open arms, while your son seems to think extra money means my money now. And a cherry on top? They want you to risk your financial security so they can buy houses. Bold move, considering their track records in adulting. You've done your part. You funded their education, or attempted to, reached out despite being blocked, and hosted them for dysfunctional dinner. If they want to play the "you're a bad parent" card, remind them that being a parent doesn't mean you're obligated to enable bad decisions or jeopardize your future. Keep that retirement fund intact. Sounds like you'll need it for peace of mind. This was a hostage meeting. They're withholding contact and affection unless OP pays them off. Having your college paid for is a freaking gift most kids would be grateful for. But this son is mad at dad because 1, he didn't get the balance of his sister's college fund, and 2, some weird convoluted grievance on his sister's behalf. It's all about the money. If they got it, they'd still be low contact with OP, not the a-hole. Oh, hell no. You paid in full for your son's college, but that's not enough for him? She ignored solid, loving advice and cut you off, and she thinks it's your fault for not reaching out to her. So you should jeopardize your future to benefit these greedy, immature, and selfish people who will absolutely not be in a position to help you should you need it as you age? It's hard for a parent to refuse to help, but you must. You have done more than enough, and they have to grow up. Her reasoning was, parents should let the kids make mistakes and then help them pick up the pieces. I said, heck no. My duty is to make sure you don't make life-altering mistakes. She said nobody's perfect, and people make mistakes and that's part of life. Ugh. Lol, screw them. They're already talking about getting inheritance from you, as in you dying? Entitled little shits. I wouldn't give them anything. Yeah, that's very entitled. Also, I am only in my early 60s. My house is paid off, but getting a reverse mortgage is risky. Don't do it at all. You have paid off that house with your hard work, only to go into debt again? Come on. Yeah, I am not going to do it. Their reasoning is that boomers had it good, since we can afford a house. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my deadbeat father's wife and daughter to leave me the heck alone? My dad walked out on me and my mom when I, 19 male, was a baby. He didn't pay child support, never saw me, didn't show up at court at any point, and never reached out to me. I always had questions about him, but my mom was always way too nice about it until I turned 18 and she laid it all out for me. She even showed me the file she had for court that showed all the times he didn't show up, how much money he owed, and the fact she chased after child support for years. but he always found a way to avoid paying. For 6 years, she tried to chase him through court until she gave up the fight and let the debt compile because it was costing her money and was taking from her ability to support us. He was the truest definition of a deadbeat. I have nothing good to say and no interest in establishing a relationship of any kind. In September, I got a friend request from this woman on Facebook. We had no friends in common, so I ignored it. Then I rejected it. She sent it again, so I accepted because I found it weird. A day later, a request came from a girl and I rejected that. But just like the other account, she sent it again. I saw they were friends, so I left it ignored. Then a DM came from the account I had accepted a request from. Turns out, this was my deadbeat father's wife and oldest daughter. They wanted to find me because they felt I should know my family and that I was now old enough to decide for myself. I told them I wasn't interested and to please leave me alone. I unfriended the wife and blocked both accounts and went private. But my Facebook is linked to my Instagram, and the daughter tried to reach me there. She said I didn't know the truth and deserved it, and how she and her siblings always wanted to know their older brother, and how her whole family was hoping we could all come together as a family. I blocked her there and ignored it. The daughter found another account of mine on another platform and has pestered me there ever since. It's constant new accounts, and I have reported some. I tried replying once more, saying I'm sorry she got her hopes up, but I'm not interested. The next day, I had messages from both the mother and daughter, saying my mom was the reason I didn't know my deadbeat father, and how she was abusive and awful and he had to leave. He hated walking away, but claimed she was dangerous and awful to be around, and I deserved to know the kind of thing I was raised by. And yeah, his daughter called my mom a thing. I responded that they were making a lot of accusations and defending him so much, but he left me with a supposedly abusive mother and made no attempt to save me from it in 19 years. And that tells me all I need to know about that man. I said once again they needed to leave me alone, and I wasn't going to have a relationship with any of them. I thought they were finally going to leave me alone, but then before Christmas, I got a long message from the two of them that basically gave me the sob story of a man who loved me, but feared my life would be worse if he stayed, and I'd be abused worse, and how he hoped my mom would abuse me less if he wasn't around. I didn't even address the rest. I told them to leave me the heck alone before I go to the police for harassment. I told them I would if they pushed it. The wife flipped out on me and said how dare I speak to them in such an abusive way, and clearly I'm a mother's son. She told me I should be ashamed of speaking to a teenager that way, who did nothing but try to love me. She is so mad that I had to turn my phone off because I kept getting notified of all these messages. I tried to stop them contacting me there, but the feature to stop them seems to be wonky on my account. I did go to the police, but I need to keep all of the messages going forward to make a case for anything. What I had wasn't enough. So yeah, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You stated your boundaries and they should respect them because at the end of the day, you get the last say, not them. You should just block them everywhere and put this behind you because they have no right to disrespect you like that. Sorry if my comment is a bit off the hinge. This post just made me a bit mad. They keep making new accounts on this platform since I can't stop non-followers from DMing me on there. The feature does nothing. Go after your deadbeat father for the accumulated child support. That might shut them up. Exactly. Just because you're of age now doesn't mean that debt goes away. Some deadbeat parents and their enablers believe the financial slate is wiped clean, and it is not. Even though my son is 34, my calculations are my son and I are still owed more than $60,000. Go get your bank, because you'll get your peace. He left because she was abusive, but never paid child support, presumably get paid under the table to avoid getting garnished, and has never actually reached out himself? Yeah, he is full of shit. Correct. Didn't even reach out when they found me online. Not the a-hole. I would look into any services that will help you go after him for the back child support. Maybe you can get his license taken away or his wages garnished since he wants to harass you through his wife and kid. Even if it's not him leading this, I have talked to my mom about trying. We both agree either he screwed himself over or his wife and their daughter did. But either way, we don't care, and he needs to pay now. Last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my family/parents for leaving on a trip when I was being induced to deliver my stillborn son? I was 28 weeks pregnant with my second child, my son, when he passed, and I had to schedule an induction. My parents were set to leave on a trip/cruise the day before. This trip was booked before I even became pregnant. They told me they couldn't cancel because they booked this trip with a group of relatives and would worry that these relatives would get lost without them. I acknowledged that I never spoke up to ask them to stay. I didn't want to beg anyone to be there for me. My parents were supposed to watch our daughter 7 when it was time for the birth. Since this was sudden and with my parents leaving, we were scrambling to arrange care. I was in the hospital for 3 days. My cousins came to visit and my parents called, thanked them for being there for me, and explained that they couldn't cancel their trip. It felt wrong that my parents were thanking other people for being there for me during the most traumatic time of my life. Nothing could ever make me get on a flight and leave my daughter if she was going through this. My parents were also posting pictures and videos on social media the entire length of their trip, knowing what I was going through back home. My parents came home from their trip a week before the funeral. I didn't talk to them at all. I answered one of my mom's calls and said I'd consider forgiving them if they both apologized. She said sorry and that her trip was terrible because she lost her luggage. That if she could do it over again, she wouldn't go because of her lost luggage. I told her they're bad parents, and I haven't picked up another one of her calls since. My dad hasn't tried to reach out. Some context. My parents also weren't there when my daughter was born. They went on a trip, which they booked after I was pregnant and left 2 days before my due date. I had an emergency C-section and complications with that delivery. I'm the eldest of 3, and my parents have always treated me differently, worse. My sister is the golden child. This is not to diminish the childhood trauma my siblings experienced on their own. My sister and her fiancé think I'm being harsh/an a-hole. They think that this one thing doesn't make them bad parents. My sister's fiancé says he wouldn't have canceled a trip. They don't think my parents being there for me would have made a difference. When I said this is the worst thing my parents have done to me, they disagreed. I felt invalidated by them, so I cut them off too. They can't understand why I've cut them off and say they were questioning me to understand my feelings and trying to help me get over it by sharing their perspectives. My sister said she likes hearing others' perspectives and opinions, so I guess I should too? They don't get how my anger toward my parents is part of my grief. So am I the a-hole for being mad at my parents for not canceling their trip that was booked well before I was pregnant? Am I the a-hole for cutting off my sister and her fiancé for voicing their opinions? That lost luggage comment was so incredibly cold. You are losing nothing by cutting them out of your life. These people are strangers to you. That, along with this from the sister and her fiancé. When I said this is the worst thing my parents have done to me, they disagreed. How dare they decide what OP feels is hurtful? Just out of morbid curiosity, what actions were worse than abandoning you during this time? Not the a-hole, and your sister is nuts. They think the way my parents reacted to me telling them the news I was pregnant with my daughter was worse. My parents shamed me and berated me and basically told me I'd accomplished nothing in life. I was living apart from them with my husband already, and I was 27, with my own career. I don't feel that was worse than this, but they do. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but you told them you understand that they can't cancel the trip, then got mad when they proceeded to go on the trip? You need to assert yourself. You can't say one thing and expect the other. I never told them I understood. They told me they couldn't cancel, and it was clear they weren't going to, so I didn't say anything. I was in shock at a time and just trying to survive. Asking people to be there for me was the last thing on my mind, to be honest. From what you've said so far, I don't think asking them to stay would have changed anything. They were already giving you reasons why they couldn't cancel without you asking them. The luggage comment is just the icing on the cake. Stick with people who have empathy. If you want to have your sister back, tell her the subject of your parents is literally a dead issue as far as you are concerned. I am so sorry for your loss.